questions, and I'm delighted to introduce you to Jane Jacobs from St. Louis Score.
Good morning. How is everybody? So my name is Janna, and I am here to talk about business plans. So the first thing I wanted to do is talk about why should you listen to me. So a little bit about me. I grew up off the grid, Southwest Missouri, about a half an hour south of Joplin. Everybody in my family is a small business owner. My dad was an owner-broker for a real estate company, and he had a cattle operation. So my brother and I grew up helping him in the cattle operation. He is one of four. Everybody in his family owned their own business. My brother has his own law firm. I have cousins that have businesses. So everything around Christmas and the Thanksgiving table is business. We talk about business all the time. So I came to St. Louis and I worked for Enterprise Rent-A-Car, Enterprise Alamo National. And one of the things that they did back then, right, I worked for them twice in college and then later, over 35 years, I grew up with them. It's the throes of that startup, right? That culture of the chaos of the starting, the bootstrapping, super familiar with me, so I grew up with that, and just recently retired from them, started my own company to do the same thing, help businesses identify, manage, and eliminate chaos, because I like kind of that startup. But I also give back time to SCORE. And so, want to talk about SCORE a little bit. So SCORE, as Steve was talking about, is a national organization. There's about 10,000 volunteers. Everybody there has been in the business community. You've got CEOs, you've got people with experience buying and selling companies. You have people like myself who've gone in and helped operationalize, who've scaled. The St. Louis chapter is about 75 people. We do business one-on-one mentoring, but we also do a lot of education. All of the services are free. So you can go out to the SCORE website. I put my card around here, which has the website on there, but you can sign up for live webinars. Those are free on any topic. Business planning, which we're talking about today, financial projections, learning how to run your business, marketing, other personal development is out there. Lots of them are recorded, and one of the best things, and I was sharing this with Steve when we were talking, that I really like, is you can go out and search nationally for recorded sessions. So if you're in an industry that is not as progressive in the Midwest as it might be on the coast, you can go out and see content, let's say from an agriculture perspective, or I was sharing with him a new market that's emerging out in California called MICO, Microeconomic Home Kitchen Operations. They're prepping for the Olympics. You can look at that content and you can listen to these recorded webinars at your own convenience anytime. They're free. So go out to the website. You can look for content out there. You can also request a mentor. Everybody's profiles are there. You can select one certain, specific to what you're interested in, or you can request one and somebody would get assigned to you. And the last thing I'll say on that is one of the things that we do is we really try to encourage mentors to co-mentor, to bring in other mentor expertise. So I'll bring in, like with my client base, I'll bring in a lot of times somebody from like a CPA, CFO, or an attorney, or somebody that has intellectual property subject matter expertise to talk about situations, right? We can't give legal advice, we can't do your accounting, but we can talk through scenarios to help you understand what does it look like and what are the type of information and questions you should be asking when you're covering these things. But you can also bring in people to, like I have a client where we did a practice pitch session. I brought 6 other SCORE mentors. They came in and did a pitch. So if you're getting ready to go to a loan meeting with your bank and you wanted to practice your pitch, or you wanted somebody to review your business plan or projections, SCORE might be a great advisor for you to use. And then I was talking with somebody earlier, you get out of it what you put in and what you need. So if you don't need somebody to meet with you weekly, then you don't use it like that, right? You set it up front, maybe monthly, maybe quarterly. It kind of could be an accountability partner. So just put that in the back of your mind, and let's talk about business planning. So I had Steve print off some copies of this. It's long. We're not going to go through all of it. But it is on the website. You can go out to the SCORE St. Louis website. There's the templates. And in there you can go down and you can download your own copy that you can fill out. There's some financial projections out there, templates that you can do. I know Steve's got some templates. There's a marketing plan out there. So in addition to the recorded webinars, there's templates that you can go out and download too. But we're going to talk about business planning and why your business plan is so important. So we talk about in SCORE business planning, as we work with clients, it is the number one thing you can do to help ensure your success. This is one of the most important things you can do as you're thinking about spending your time in your business or on your business. This is your time spent on your business. It's one of the most important things. I've been with SCORE for a year. When I talk to other SCORE mentors that have been there 5, 10 years, they say the number one predictor of a company's success is if they have a business plan. So it's very important. It's going to help you do a couple of things, right? So it's going to help you convince the lenders to loan you money. It's telling them your story. What is my business doing? It's the written word of what your business is doing. It's going to help you persuade partners and key employees to work with you. They're going to understand your story. And the most important part of this is it's your roadmap to what you need to do to grow your business. So this is your written word about what you're going to do. It requires critical thinking about what you're going to do in your business. What are we about? How are we going to do it? What's the competition? What's my pricing strategy? What's my investment cycle? What's my revenue cycle? All of these things in a written word. Then the other thing Steve mentioned to me is that this group does a lot of conversation about how do you balance, right? Work-life balance. The other thing your business plan lets you do is define success. What does success look like? How much time should I be spending on my business versus in my business? This becomes your roadmap. You were talking earlier today with your accountability partner. This is your roadmap of where you want to spend your time. So take a quick look, if you can, and kind of scan through what some of these things talk about, right? It needs to be clear. It needs to be concise. You're not going to want to make any unsubstantiated claims, any broad brush sweeping statements. And the other thing that this does that I know you guys have talked about is your financial projections. This is your written word that goes hand in glove with your financial projections. They come together to tell your story about what you're doing with your business. How am I going to grow my business and make revenue? Where am I going to spend my money? So this is going to take time. This is not a leave today, whip it out in an hour kind of thing. But I would challenge you, if you don't already have one, that by the end of the week have a draft. Just start. Get something written down, get a draft. I always like to say marinate on it. Leverage your advisors. If you don't already have some advisors that are helping you directly, then this is a great time to get them involved and talk about your business plan. Talk it through with them. Then take another iteration of it. Spend the next, let's say, 6 to 8 weeks getting it refined, getting it mature. As you start bouncing it off people and you're not changing anymore, then you know you've nailed it. And get your financial projections mirroring it as well, so they come together and they tell your story and you can start moving in that direction. You were talking about quotes. My dad was a big Zig Ziglar guy, right? And so it's that whole thing. If you don't have a target, you hit it every time. This is your target. Spend all resources here, and if it's not working, then you can intentionally pivot to a different direction, and you know why you're changing that direction. You learned something. It wasn't a failure. It was an opportunity, and you learned, and now you're going to change directions for these reasons. But it allows you to have that roadmap to go forward. So go to the website. Highly recommend you download it. Challenge yourself to have a draft. by the end of the week. And no, it is gonna take you some time. It may take you 6 to 8 weeks, depending on where you are right now and what you've already written. It might take you 3 to 6 months. And then I would recommend you review it. At a minimum annually, but you might, if you're very, evolving very rapidly right now, you might need to review it every quarter and keep track of it. So, that's my spiel. Business planning. I'm a fast talker.
Yeah, Brian, can you join us for a few minutes? So I want to underscore a couple of things. And we've talked about in here, you know, 2024 was the first year that small businesses didn't pull their weight.
They're the speaker.
Okay.
Microphones. Yeah, microphones, thank you, the word's totally.
So 2024 was the first year that small business didn't pull their weight in terms of it did not grow at the same rate as medium and large businesses do. So typically small businesses has been the growth engine, right? And we talked in this organization about a couple of things that could be contributing factors to that. One is that during uncertain economic times, small business owners, bury their pocketbook deeply, right? And take away all discretionary spending, and marketing expense goes way down. And medium and large businesses know that in times of economic uncertainty, that's when they spend the most, because they buy market share, and they hold that market share. Market share is durable, right? Once you get a customer, unless you piss them off, they're gonna stay with you. Unless you give them a reason to leave, it's like your employees, right? So, another thing that's a key differentiator between medium businesses and large businesses, and all three of us have worked for large businesses at some point in the past. I can tell you, as a division leader in a large business, we had a business plan. I had to sit down every quarter with the president of our company and review our division's progress to that plan, point by point by point. And of course, he had to go talk to the shareholders and review the overall corporate business plan, right? Small business, we don't have that discipline. We don't have that experience. And what I want to say is I think Janna did a marvelous job, but your business plan should be iterative. You should use it to hold yourself accountable, because nobody else will, right? So you'd be amazed when you start building your business plan and don't put it on the shelf. Pull it out at least every 90 days and hold yourself accountable to what you're doing in your business, and change it when it needs to be changed. The nice thing about small business is the one true durable advantage we have is speed. We can adjust to the market much faster than anybody else can. Right? So I'll get off my soapbox.
I was gonna add to it, equate to like a weight loss goal, right? Your business plan
Now, don't go to that one.
is, right? And so, they always say if you're wanting to do like a lifestyle change, you share it with somebody. That's your accountability partner. So your business plan is kind of the same way, right? Not kind of, it is. Have an accountability partner, review it, but yeah, spot on. One of the most valuable things is the agility to flex in the market, right? Your approval path is really fast. It's your assessment of the opportunity and risk, unlike what we saw, which might take a long time.
Yeah, I would like to say that the SBA is just an amazing governmental agency, or whatever it technically is. I do, as maybe everybody here knows, the core of my practice is on buying and selling small businesses. And the vast majority of the time, if there's bank financing, it's SBA-backed financing. These deals just would not happen if it weren't for the SBA loan program, usually 7A, sometimes 504. If they did happen, the business owners would not get the price that they would otherwise. they'd have to do a lot more self-financing, or they're taking more risk after closing. SBA is just an amazing, it's an amazing program. And before I started my firm, I worked for 3 different fairly large firms, ranging from maybe 75 attorneys to 350 attorneys. And then decided to go off, on my own, and it's just been one attorney ever since. But I went to the SBA's website and went through the business planning process, and they have a lot of tools for small business owners, a lot of resources, a lot of information, and of course it's all free, which is really pretty amazing. So anyway, huge fan of SBA.
So this is for you guys. Do you have any questions about how you can access money, how you can use these resources for your business, or specifics regarding how to put together a plan and other things along that line? Yes, Cynthia.
So if I have a consulting, coaching business, it's services rather than products, how would I take advantage of I'm just having a hard time wrapping my head around.
I'll give you a real world example that we just culminated a couple of months ago. I have a client who has a horse training business. Okay, he's a horse whisperer, right?
Cool.
That's generally what he is. He trains horses. We helped guide him through writing his business plan, and then morphed a portion of his business plan into a loan proposal. He needed $285,000 in capital to make some adjustments to his facility to achieve what he wanted to for his business plan, right? So we helped guide him through taking elements of his business plan, drafting that into a loan proposal. And the only real difference was we had to take the business plan and forecast, after he made these investments, what was his revenue and expenses going to look like in the future, right? And how then could he afford to pay for this loan? Does that make sense?
Yes.
He then turned around and we shared that business plan with multiple bankers. He got 5 offers of financing for his deal. And he's in the process of working that through in his business now. So service business, it doesn't matter. Service products, it's all the same. If you need money for your business, the people, you have to remember the lenders sell money. And they're selling money in order to make a profit on what they sell you. So if you can show them there's a clear path to, if you give me $285,000, I'll be able to make these payments and pay these things off in full, they're going to say yes. Does that help?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, that's what they want to see, is your business plan and your financial projections, so that they have confidence that if they give you that money, they will make a profit.
It's really a great way to scale your business.
Listen.
That is the way.
It is the way to scale your business.
Okay.
It is the way to scale your business. Every business, and Brian will underscore this, if you start a business or buy a business, right? When you start a business, you write a check up front, right? You're investing in inventory, you're investing in equipment, you're investing in time, right? You're investing in whatever's necessary to deliver your service before you start getting paid for it, right? If you buy a business, you typically are writing 2 checks. You're writing a check to purchase the business, then you're writing a check for the working capital to run the business, right? So, that's a very, very normal thing. Business consumes capital, but enduring businesses return more than they consume, right?
Yeah, money is definitely the lifeblood of your business. If you don't have enough of it, it's very difficult to succeed. And it also takes money to grow. So there's been innumerable stories of companies that outgrew their funds and failed. It's very expensive to grow. But one thing that I was hearing earlier about, business plan, and a big part of it is a story. If you think about the loan process, you're going to be, when you reach out to an SBA lender or a bank, you're going to be talking to a person, who's a lender, basically a loan salesperson. basically. You're gonna have to tell them your story, about how you're gonna succeed, how you're gonna be able to repay, the loan. In the case of SBA, how it's better for the economy and things, because, you know, the SBA cares about, business in general and growing the economy, and not just your business, but about doing good things in our economy. That lender is gonna write basically you know, take your story and put it in documentation that's internal for the bank, and then present that story to the credit committee, who's gonna make a decision about the loan. So it's important to just, you know, have your story about, you know, how your business is gonna work, how you're gonna succeed, how you're gonna make money, how you're gonna attract customers, all that stuff. And it's just important to have a story, and of course, a business plan is a good way to do that.
Yeah, business plan's a good way to do that, but the other thing too is if you apply and get turned down, ask why. Because it may not be that your business plan wasn't solid, like what we were talking about earlier, it may just be not a good timing frame, right, not good timing for them. But if it is your business plan, that's valuable input, then you can review your business plan, you can review your financials and make adjustments accordingly. So don't just take no, right, it's like the sales side, don't take no, understand why that happened, and then, you know, incorporate that into what you're doing.
Banks also have something that they sometimes refer to as a credit box. Different banks have different specializations, basically. You know, different types of businesses, different types of loans are what they're looking for. So your particular situation, and Janna talked earlier about, you know, different buckets of risk, and the particular bank might have filled in their specific bucket. Well, banks have buckets that they don't even want to deal with at all, or that they like and specialize in. And so if you deal with multiple banks, you're going to be more likely to hit a bank that really likes your situation, you know, your industry or whatever. So.
I just want to say thank you for sharing this resource, because as someone that's like newer to this world, everyone like kind of tells you what you should be doing. I'm like, great, how? So I'm very excited. So thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome. How is our part?
Question for you, from a real estate perspective, are loans confined to purely purchasing real estate, or can it be used for other things like renovations?
Absolutely. So if you can use the SBA, I have met a few people that are in the real estate flipping business that will use the SBA. It's challenging. Generally, there's a lot of other access to capital that's available in that side of it, right? But it is available in that regard. If you're building a business, that's what your business is. And I know you're looking at historic renovation stuff and long-term stuff. So, you know, I would say that would be something you might want to explore.
Absolutely, thank you.
This is where you're going to want to seek a bank that likes your business.
Exactly.
Because some of them don't want to do commercial lending, or they're going to have some restrictions. So this would be where they're being explored. And if one turns you down, ask them if they know somebody in the banking world that likes your business.
Okay. Yeah.
And it depends again on the use of funds. So remember, when you do a 7A loan, one of the things that we didn't talk about is there is a prepayment penalty on 7A loans. It goes away in 3 years. So there's a prepayment penalty year 1, year 2, and a small one in year 3. After 36 months, it goes away. So you wouldn't necessarily use a 7A in that regard. You might use a 7A to have working capital to do the renovations, but not specifically tied to the property. Because if you're flipping the property, it's going to dramatically increase your cost there.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a store client who wants to open a laundromat, and so he's looking at 2 SBA loans, right? One, to get the facilities and get it up and going, and then the second one for the equipment, and so it's almost more like a construction loan.
Right.
It's really 2.
Okay, very good.
Yeah, Bill.
The other thing I've found is that it's always an interesting conversation when you deal with a loan officer or a loan representative or a business development officer by various names. Always interesting at networking groups is what kind of loans do you like? What do you like to get into? Where do you work the best? What's the bank's philosophy on this? And it's amazing the different responses you'll get. And really, it's because they're businesses too. The banks are businesses, and they've got to make the same kind of decisions that you have to make. The level of risk, is this a good deal or not?
Bob, do you have a question?
Yeah, so there's been a heavy emphasis this morning on using the SBA for loans and for financing, which I understand. That's a big benefit. But what if you're, and maybe Janna in particular can clarify this, if you're a small business person not interested in seeking a loan, but there are still resources that the SBA and SCORE can have for you, correct? It's not just pursuing a loan, am I correct in that?
No, like, are you talking about helping you, if you already have the money and you're not seeking funding?
Yeah, like, aren't there SCORE volunteers? Can't you meet with a mentor just to build your business
Absolutely.
without
We were
funding?
talking here mainly because of money, but absolutely. So, I have a couple of clients that are in software and they're not looking for money, and we spend a lot of time because they have a minimal viable product and they're looking for customers, right? They're looking for beta testers, and so I'm able to use the SCORE network to help them identify other market areas that they can get into. The other thing that SCORE can do is marketing, right? So we have somebody who I bring on and do co-mentoring with who's marketing, and he'll do search engine optimization. And he's fantastic. So I have Elsa's Cleaning Service, which just got highlighted by SCORE's client success story today, went out. But we met with him, Dick Slackman, and what he does is he looks at her Google profile, business profile, he looks at her website. We have a session which we record using AI, and he gives her a bullet point list of everything she needs to do to optimize her results. So when people are searching for cleaning services, they're getting hers. I have another client that's coming through the Hispanic Chamber, same thing. She offers empanadas and different things and bakery goods. She's an immigrant who wants to cook food from Peru and her home. Same thing, we met, she's got this website, I searched for her, I got nothing. And so I tell her, I go, we meet with Dick, and he gives her a list. So yes, there is a lot of things like that. There's also, we were talking grant writing. There's a lot of education out there if you want to learn about how to do grants. And there's a lot of education out there about understanding the numbers in your business.
And the free webinars and things like that are available to anyone, right?
Available to anybody
Cool.
on any topic, and back to, you can search nationally. So my client who wants to get into the MECO, I connected her with a SCORE mentor out in Long Beach, California, who's partnering with the LA County SCORE, who's working with the LA County Health Department to prepare that industry for the 2028 Olympics.
Cool.
Huge opportunity for my client who has software who could push that out there. And we're talking about doing like a requirements user group session. So you can, there's a lot of things.
Cool.
Does one have to have like a formal business plan to get a mentor, say for like SEO or anything?
Mm-mm.
Is there any minimum requirement?
I'm like, what's the catch here?
There's no catch.
That's why we're up here saying it is a free resource. You know, I kind of think of it as a village of
It's the best kept
resources
secret.
that are helping
Like a
you be
library.
successful. And is it free to you? And, you know, obviously it's like any volunteer organization, right? It's gonna take all your time that you as the volunteer give, but it's a free resource, and there's a lot of resources out there, and there is no catch. That's what makes it so fun.
Yes, John?
This is not on point with what we're discussing as far as the SBA, but it is, as far as businesses are concerned. There is a new provision coming out effective in September the 25th by Internal Revenue. They are no longer going to accept written checks. So keep that in mind. If you have to pay understand anything, what the alternatives are. And I'm not smart enough to know them, but be aware of it.
Richard?
To be a SCORE person, is there a requirement of business or whatever to want to be a coach? To say,
Good question, I didn't flex for it. No, but there is an application process, so you can go out to the website and apply to be a mentor, and then there's group of people, 3 people that interview people who apply, and then they go through the interviewing process, and then there's a little bit of training that you have to take where you learn about the score systems and ethics, and things like that. But great organization, good question. No, you don't have to have a background. There's some people who do business mentoring like myself. There's other people who are subject matter experts into their,
It's very open, they accepted me.
Just watch American Ninja Warrior, you know, with your background.
The other thing too, which I didn't mention, which is important in some industries, is core volunteers sign a confidentiality agreement. So if you have a product that's emerging and you are wanting to protect it, it's a great resource where you can talk about it freely without being worried about your idea being stolen. But yeah, great question. Thank you for asking that.
Quickly, Karen.
So when you get advice from somebody, that you don't necessarily hire them, it's more like a coaching, consulting. Can
Without a
you hire
bill.
them though?
Without a bill.
That would depend. They can't be a mentor to you and work
Okay,
for you.
so they
There
can
would
give
be a
you,
conflict
they
of
can
interest.
tell you, this is what's wrong, this is what you need to do, but then they don't necessarily fix it. Okay,
That's, yeah. But if you wanted that, then they would need to stop mentoring you and you would hire them, right?
Okay.
There has to be a
you
separation.
fire them and then hire them.
You would fire them as a mentor and then hire them to help you do it. But yeah, it is just advising and consulting.
That is nice.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you, guys.